Good evening, everyone. Ike from Athlete Studio. The first video which I shared with you guys, I was just giving you a brief rundown of how Lumion and a few other softwares like Revit, ArchiCAD, or SketchUp would actually synchronize themselves. Now, if you've gone through the video, you notice that I explained how you could, easily create your model, synchronize it with Lumion, and edit a few things and all that. Now I'll just give you a quick summary. You can't model components like this in Lumion. It's expected that your model is complete in Revit or SketchUp, and all you need to do is just take it to Lumion and just render. So I always advise you to have your model as detailed as possible. Have every component you want in Revit all set up. Another advice would be, if you know you have different components on your model which you would like to have, may have them have separate materials, please make sure you place them in different materials in your Revit. For example, if I want this wall here to be different material with this wall while I'm rendering in Lumion, you have to make this one have a different material. Okay, the same applies to any other component. If I want this floor to have a different material than this floor, you need to make each one have different material while in Revit. So by the time you synchronize it to Lumion, Lumion sees them as two different components. Okay, so if you've installed your LiveSync, if you turn it on, click the play button here, it turns on. It synchronizes your model with your Revit and loads it up here exactly as you see here. Now most times when you load your scene, you have this situation where your site doesn't appear exactly as it's showing on your Revit here. I think this has to do with um, the position in which Lumion actually picks it up from Revit. So all you need to do is just click your model here to edit it. You can either click and drag these coordinates here, the XYZ coordinates. You can either click and drag it. If you want to do that by just clicking and dragging, you come down here and click the move up. You could click hit and hold down your mouse and just move it up till you see your Revit landscape. Now I don't really like using this because you can't be that accurate, so I always combine two options. So if I make it first move up and down a little bit, and I can see my model, I zoom out to the edge here to see if both of them are actually married. If they are not, you know, making contact like this, you could just come down here in this area where you see typing. You can click it and just adjust this any of these coordinates here. That's y-axis for this case now. So I think this is okay for me, so I could just leave it this way. So now let's quickly go through material editing here. So for Lumion, when you're modeling, when you're trying to set up your materials to render in Lumion, first thing you should have in mind is that most of these materials you see here, which you're going to be selecting in this software, react the same way you have in your real life situation. The way light falls or incidents on your material is the same way it will try to create that same impression as a real life scenario, so that you have some realistic renderings. So if we come over here and just click the material here, what this does is that it actually explodes your entire materials in Revit. Most times when you synchronize and you import your material into Lumion, it comes with your default materials, but they may not come out the way you want. I don't like using them directly. I like to make a change to them. So without wasting much time, I would like to start off by setting up some of our materials. Now let's pick the first thing here, which is the site. If I click on the site here, I always like to leave my site on landscape. Okay, I don't like to go to the various to do the 3D grass. No, I always like to leave my type on landscape, and I'll show you the reason why I do that. Now I've set it up on landscape. You can see the landscape here is the same thing with the entire default environment. So once I've done that, I'll just say okay. Then I come over here and I just click landscape. Okay, click landscape here. I have these presets already of how the floor and the ground is as default as it is right now, but I would like to do some changes. So if I click here, landscape grass, that's actually the grass aspect, I will turn it on. Okay, the grass itself is turned off, that's why it's looking this way. I'll turn this on and you see it gives me a little bit of some feel. I like this feel different than those of the 3D grass, because here you can see different kind of grasses here. You can see this, a few with broad leaves and all that. And I like the texture, so this is okay for me. What I then next do is that I can either tweak it to increase the size, or reduce it as much as I want. Depends on how you want it to look like on your scene here. Don't worry about this, I'll show you how to adjust this. So I can either increase the height. This is the size we're actually working on it. I can increase the height and say make it a little bit taller. I can increase the width. Okay, so see it's already clearing out on the sides. Increase it, but this doesn't make it look quite realistic. You can see how blurry it looks here. So I'll just leave it back here as it is. Now if this actually works for you, you can leave it that way, or you could add some few things. In real life scenarios, most of the lawns you see, they have one or two little grasses here and there, flowers showing up on the grass. So these options you're seeing here, these blank arrows you're seeing here, help you load up a few of those contents. So you can just click this first arrow here, or come down here and just click this. Let me click this. Yes. Now you can make any of these grass objects here show up in your landscape in Lumion. So first I would like to bring in something like this. If you reduce the speed, you see more of the plants scatter in your landscape. If you increase it, you see less. So I always leave it as 0 if I want to show up in several places. You can load as many as you want. If I want to bring in grass, instead of me having to go to Lumion's own library to load grass and have to start stressing myself about positioning it, I just click this and reduce the speed. You can see some grass already, dry leaves, so showing themselves inside here. So the same will happen if I just load maybe stones, and I can reduce this or increase this. Okay, now you see your grass is showing some level of realism. Now for now we can leave this and actually come back later to add some more things. Now let me show you how we can actually correct this. Now if you go back to your content library where you have your, which allows you click your entire model. Like I mentioned earlier, when you're having a situation where your landscape for the main building or your main model and Lumion actually intersecting like this, simply click down this coordinates and drag it up, or just come down to here, this type in here, and actually just increase this a little bit. I can add, change this to 3. Okay, it's not enough. I see 3, 5, not really enough. But in some scenarios where you would like to give some level of realism, you might just leave this grass to protrude a little bit. When if you're having the floor here to be interlocking, we always experience that in real life where you have some grass coming out, so you can add some feel to your model. But for this case, we can actually just let it out a bit. 7, so this works. So 0.37 actually corrected that. Okay, so next we'll work on here is our floor. I'll go back to material here. I'll click on floor. I'll go to the outdoor here and I'll pick stone. I like using this particular model type because it actually looks more like real interlock. Okay, um, so what I need to do next is add some little tweaking on it. So I'll just double click on it here. Now interlock and every other material have a particular reaction to light and weather. Like I mentioned earlier, whenever you're setting any material on Lumion or any of your rendering engines, always have a comparison to real life scenarios. how does this material react with light when you see it real life. So if you have a meta picture of that, it will help you adjust how this material will look like here. So I know that interlock doesn't have a glossy finish. So first thing on this setting here, I will turn off this gloss. Okay, it's making it look a little bit. It is not reflective. In some cases where people polish their interlock, sorry about that, or people apply some kind of finishing in it. In normal situation, interlock is not reflective. Okay, it has this coarse texture which absorbs light. So now these two options doesn't appear at the same time in almost every material, which is the relief and displacement. Simple. See, let me just give you a simple explanation. Relief actually makes you see your material as a material that has certain texture. Displacement actually gives a depth to that texture. How do I mean this? What I mean by this? In Revit will show you your brick that okay, it has this pattern. Okay, it's patterned actually. That's what relief looks like here. Now, but when you have displacement is more or less like your the grooves you can feel. It makes you feel that you can actually feel those grooves on your material. So you can play with this tool to actually give you the texture you want. For me, this looks very fine here, and I'm okay with the scale, so I'll just leave it like this way. Okay, so if you notice, this looks okay and very good. So the next thing I'll be working on now would be our wall. Okay, or let's say the white components on this model, which are all grouped as one family. Now take note, if I don't want these the steps here to have the same material as this, Lumion is seeing it as one component. So if you want them to have something different from every other component, excuse me, every other component here, you have to go back to Revit and change the material of this entire floor here. Okay, Lumion is seeing this as one family because I made them have one material in Revit. So if I want them to have something different, I have to come to Revit, edit it, save it, then it will synchronize with Lumion and make that change. But for this model, I want it to be the same. So I could click this, go to my outdoor, pick plastic, I can pick concrete, I can pick any of these materials here and edit. Now this material I've picked, this is what it feels like, but I want it to be white. Okay, so I could just easily just increase this coloration to when it is completely white. My concrete is not glossy, my concrete is not reflective, except I've worked on the texture of real life by maybe painting it or something. But for this case, I don't want it to be reflective, I don't want it to be glossy. I would like to reduce the relief here because I want it to be plain white. I don't want to have any patterns or whatsoever on it already. So if I've done all that and I'm okay with this for now, I will just click the OK button. Okay, now this is the same principle with every other component of your model. Every other component of your model, you could apply the same principle to anything. Like for instance, I want to work on this steel member here. So if I click on this, I go to outdoor, I go to metal, and I click this. Let me select black. Now this is a little bit tricky. It's black already, but I want to actually set this myself. Increase the coloration, is completely black. Yes, when you paint in metal, it's glossy. Okay, not all metals you paint are reflective, except the material which you apply is a reflective material. So for this case, I don't want this to be reflective, so I'll reduce the reflectivity here. Leave it as something that is glossy, so we know that at least it's a smooth surface. Now I could decide to just turn off this relief and leave it as it is. Okay, now this looks okay for me till I am running the test render and I can see how it's reacting with lighting and all that. So I'll say it's okay. Okay, so uh, that's basically what it's like in setting your materials. Okay, now something I want to do here, this door, I want to apply the same material to all components. You can see Lumion is picking this different from this, but I want them to have the same. So this is what I'll do here. I just click this, go to my indoor, pick wood, no sorry, I can use, yeah, indoor, pick wood, select the best of the components I want. Let me pick this, or I could pick something darker. I could pick this. Okay, so okay, this is okay by me, but I don't like these grooves here, so I'll have to go edit it. Now to remove this groove, I can reduce the scale. Okay, so make it look a little bit finer. Okay, now yes, this door could be glossy but not reflective. Okay, now the coloration is okay by me, and this works fine for now. So before I exit, I'll just first of all come to this first option and click copy, and I'll say okay. Then I'll click this next side of it, go to indoor wood. I could actually just pick any component and just tell it paste. It automatically places that same material as here on the screen. So if you come down to this door here, it's the same. Okay, so you could apply the same to every other component of the model. Talk to your roof, click your roof, go outdoor, pick this, pick any of the this material. Okay, so for this, what I would like to edit here would just be my, I don't really want this material, so let me use something gray. Okay, so I click this, I want to reduce the scale a bit, and my roof is not that glossy. I don't want it to be glossy, it's not reflective. I can reduce the reflectivity a little bit more and the glossy. Okay, this is okay. I could increase this relief so it feel like it has some texture. Okay, if I'm okay with this, I'll just click OK. Okay, so we've tweaked most of our materials here, and just to make not to make this video too lengthy, you could just apply the same thing on every other component here. Okay, in the next video we'll touch a little bit more on materials, then we'll go jump right into lighting. Thanks for having me here.